Socratic Seminars, Oral Language, and Critical Thinking by Jenna Allen. The purpose of this study was to examine whether or not Socratic seminars had an impact on oral language and critical thinking skills. With high-stakes testing and standards-based learning at the forefront of the American education system, I decided to focus on oral language and critical thinking during the action research process. Oral language is emphasized in WIDA Access test, a test my students are familiar with. Additionally, the Common Core State Standards as well as CMAS rely heavily on critical thinking. Lastly, one focus of mine as an educator is to give my students the skills they need to be independent thinkers so that they can positively contribute in a society while accepting different opinions and thoughts. In addition to my initial reasoning, I was able to find a multitude of studies that discuss Socratic seminars, stating such seminars can lead to greater interest in learning and an appreciation for the power of knowledge. Additionally, there are a number of resources that state that seminars have a positive influence on critical thinking. A lot of the literature also indicated that teaching oral language skills through discussion was effective for all learners. While all 23 students in my third period received the innovation of this action research study as part of their classroom instruction, a subset of 6 students were invited to participate in the study so that the data could be collected and analyzed. In order to ensure that data collected represented the student population in a typical class, I selected 3 males and 3 females for the study. 1 student was a 6th grader, 2 were 7th graders, 3 were 8th graders. With the group selected, 1 student scored low on their reading test, 2 scored in the mid-low range, 2 scored in the mid-high range, and 1 scored in the high range. The intervention was implemented over a 6-week period. On the first day of the students received direct instruction on the 6 elements of critical thinking. Following the 3-day lesson on critical thinking, Socratic seminars were introduced to the students in a 1-day lesson. Once they were exposed to the types of critical thinking and the expectations for seminars, class seminars occurred randomly. The intervention included 4 Socratic seminars revolving around the class readings, which included both fiction and nonfiction texts. Data collection tools included an oral language tally sheet that broke down oral language into 4 sections and addressed if 1. Comments made were coherent and relevant, 2. If they provided explanation for their opinions and comments, 3. Which sentence structures they used, including simple, compound, and complex, and 4. If they used vague language. Another tool was the critical thinking tracking sheet, where I assessed which types of critical thinking each comment demonstrated by shading in the box next to the comment. A comment could demonstrate one type of critical thinking, but it could also illustrate that the student was using all 6 types. A third tool I used was a partner evaluation, where students evaluated their partner's participation in the seminar by rating different elements on a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 indicated their partner had not yet shown proficiency and 5 indicated they have proven mastery. The 4th data collection form used in the intervention was a self-assessment. Students considered a number of elements that were separated into 4 major sections. 1. Including reading and preparing for the seminar. 2. Listening during the seminar. 3. Speaking during the seminar. And 4. Interacting with others during the seminar. Each element was assessed on the district grading scale, where 1 is the lowest and 3 is proficient. The final data collection form in the study came at the very end when the students were asked to take a survey. The survey had 5 questions that regarded the trends I had already found. My first assertion was that critical thinking improves when students participated in regular Socratic seminars, and was supported by the data collected using the critical thinking tracking sheet. Every comment a student made during the seminar was written in the comment sheet of their personal tracking sheet and assessed to see which type of critical thinking. After each comment, I counted the number of boxes the student had shaded and then counted the number of total boxes. With this number, I was able to find an average, and with all the averages, I found a class average. While individually students fluctuated in their critical thinking scores from seminar to seminar, the data illustrated that as a whole, the class made gains from one Socratic seminar to the next. Additionally, qualitative data supported this assertion. Student 4 wrote after seminar 1, "I need to talk more." But by seminar 2, she noted attention to what people were saying so I could add on to the conversation. I asked 3 questions so that the conversation kept running, illustrating that she recognized a shift in her own behavior. Asking questions and pushing the conversation further shows that she was thinking critically about the topic being discussed. My second assertion was that Socratic seminars promote the oral explanation of one's thoughts, which was supported by oral language tally sheet. One section of the tracker focused on each time a student explained themselves without prompt from their peers. After the seminar, I counted how many times the class had explained themselves during the conversation. The increase in explanations is shown in the figure. In Seminar 1, the class as a whole only shared an explanation of their thoughts 18 times, but the final Socratic seminar, the total number of explanations was 28. Qualitative data also supported that students became better at naturally explaining themselves when they shared their opinions in Socratic seminar. One student wrote, "Not all the class thinks the way I think, so that makes me naturally explain myself." This shift in the strategy to speak and add their reasoning to help others understand them proves that Socratic seminars guide students towards naturally explaining themselves when speaking. The partner evaluations also offered quantitative data that supported the third assertion, which was that Socratic seminars do not advance the use of academic language when speaking. One line in the oral language section of the form specifically asked if partners used precise vocab, and asked them to rate their use of precise vocab on a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 indicated the student did not use any, and 5 indicated the partner was successful at using it throughout the entire conversation. When looking at the data, there is a lack of evidence suggesting that Socratic seminars influenced the use of academic language. The students' lack of change in precise vocabularies is illustrated in the figure. Only student 2 was given a higher score by the final seminar. That means 83% of students in the study did not increase their use of precise vocab in their classmates' eyes. Additionally, when asking students about the use of vague language, student 2 responded, "You just say things off the top of your head." And another student added, "It might be hard to use specific words because we don't want to make a mistake while we're speaking." With the range of reasons provided, this qualitative data supports that the use of academic language is not strengthened during a seminar. This action research project was one of the most intriguing processes I had ever done because the possibilities of study are endless. If I made a list of everything in my teaching routine, from writing objectives in notebooks to the use of mandatory resources, I would have a long list of potential guiding questions that would help me shape my classroom into a well-oiled machine. The process really does help you see what works, what isn't, and be reflective in your planning. For my teaching practice as a whole, the action research process really helped me understand the importance and value of triangulation. As a teacher, I am always looking into new materials and programs that my students would benefit from. I am also always assessing those that are already implemented at the school or district level. For example, my school uses a program called Achieve 3000. While some teachers support it and claim it correlates with growth, I could easily prove that this may not be true because they are only using one set of data to illustrate it, that when in reality, if it were true, it would correlate with multiple data sources. In addition to triangulation, this study has really made me aware of how I select activities that match the standards I am teaching. After analyzing the data, it became clear that students needed another way to practice using academic language because while Socratic seminars helped them speak in some ways, it did not help them with using academic language. I would start by saying it would be most beneficial to use all your students, or at least include a sample size of 20 to make sure your data is truly valid. Also, be aware of any variables when picking your participants. For example, a truant student or students who find themselves suspended more off others may not be the best selection. Another suggestion is to ask questions that actually matter to you. I love seminars and I really wanted to address critical thinking because it is a huge focus of mine when teaching. Had I gone with something generic for the project, I can't say that I would have found value in the study. The last suggestion I have is to make sure your collection tools and strategies are logical and easy. If they aren't logical, you will struggle to use them. They also may take more time to fill out, so make them simple and user-friendly. If I had to do this again, or any other teachers wanted to do a similar action research project, there would need to be a few adjustments made. The first thing I would say is that there is no need to give direct instruction on the types of critical thinking. Unless you are asking students to use each of them, which would take the organic aspect away from the seminar, this is an unnecessary part of the process. Another thing I would want to remember is that the tools students will be using need to be explicitly taught. I need to explain how to numerically give students scores and expect them to use comment sections in a meaningful way so that their peers can find them useful. A third aspect that would need to be addressed is the use of recording devices. Have backups for your backups. My fourth and final piece of advice is to start in August so that you can use your findings of instruction in the meaningful way and right away. That's all. Thank you so much.